Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Ellie Snake Lady and today I have a crazy Athene with me. She's all caught up in my necklace at the moment. That's why I look like I'm wearing her like a scarf, but anyway, so today I wanted to touch on like the personality differences and the temperament differences between corn snakes, king snakes and hoggies. So I'm hoping this video can help you decide what kind of snake you want and what kind of snake you'll be able to sort of handle and deal with, because they are all very different. So yeah, so I'm hoping, you know, that's my aim, is to just sort of help you decide what you'd like to have in the future snake wise. So but yeah, so without any further ado, I should just get straight on with it, and thanks very much for watching. So as you can all see, I've got Athene here, and she is an adult female reverse Okatee corn snake. As far as I know, that's her morph. And yeah, so I'm going to start off with corn snakes, and basically they are quite chilled snakes. When they're younger, they're quite feisty. So when I got Caduceus, when he was a baby, he was really like, he was quite bitey. If I put my hand in the tank to get him out, he'd do those little warning strikes. But as he's got older, he's not done that so much anymore. He is quite sort of, he's a lot more relaxed when I get him out and one thing and another, because he was just so squiggly when he was a baby. And Asclepion was just the same when he was a baby. He was very hyper and that, but as you've seen from past videos, Asclepion is still a crazy snake in his adult years as well, but he has calmed down a bit. But generally, you know, corn snakes are quite chilled out. As I say, they're quite docile. You can get them out of the tank quite easily, and they do, like with a lot of snakes, need regular handling, so they get used to that sort of thing, so that they get used to you, they get used to your smell, and they can tolerate you in one thing and another. So but these girls, Athene and Apollonia, they've always been quite chilled and sort of fairly slow moving. I mean, they can move fast if they want to, but they're quite docile. And as I say, she's quite sort of chilled out. And Apollonia, I would say out of all my corn snakes, she is the most chilled. Where Artemis is concerned, she is still a baby. She's a year old, and she's obviously still quite small, so she's a juvenile. And yeah, she is still really fast, and that's just what baby corns are like. And that's just one thing to prepare yourself for, is how quick they can move, because they can. When I first got her at the Doncaster reptile show, I got her out of her box and she was zooming up my coat sleeve and then trying to get her back in that little box to take her home. Oh my gosh, she was just so quick and so fast. And that is what baby corn snakes are like generally. But as I say, when I got Apollonia when she was just a few months old, and when I got Athene, they were just, as I say, they were actually quite different from Artemis. They were just so sort of relaxed and chilled, and you know, they're just quite happy sort of sitting on me and enjoying the warmth and all the rest of it. So but yeah, so the other thing that I was going to say about is feeding. Sometimes baby corn snakes are hard to feed. I think with Caduceus, yet again, he was a tricky one to feed. He just would not take any food off the tongs, or even if I left it in the tank when he was a baby, he just wouldn't have any of it. So I did have to sort of get hold of him really gently and just swipe round his face, the pinky. And you know, they'll do this, that and the other, they'll move their heads and recoil and all the rest of it, but then they get fed up with that, and then that's when they bite onto the pinky, and that's when they start eating. So I had to do that with him for a couple of months, but then after that he would just eat normally off the tongs. And then he started coiling around his food and sort of constricting it, because obviously corn snakes are constrictors and non-venomous. And then yeah, we've just gone from there, and now he absolutely loves his food. And this girl, I don't think she's ever refused a meal, and I don't think Apollonia's ever refused a meal either. The boys are more likely to, because they go through breeding season, so there'll be maybe a month or two where they don't eat because they're busy looking for females. But once that's over, they're back to eating again. And all of mine, I was going to say with Asclepion, he's generally always eaten apart from breeding season, so he's been quite good. I didn't have any issues with him. Caduceus, out of all my corn snakes, including Artemis, Caduceus was the fussiest one when he was a baby, but now, as I say, he doesn't miss a meal. He loves it. So yeah. And going back to Artemis, she loves her food now. I thought, oh, she might not eat, but she's like Athene and Apollonia. She eats all the time, and now I've actually managed to move her up onto hopper mice. She was on fuzzies before, but I gave her a first hopper mouse, a smaller one, and she ate it like a champ. And yeah, I'm so pleased. So now I can carry on feeding her with those, and I don't need to mess around with fuzzies anymore. But yeah, so that's, you know, this is my experience with corn snakes. And the other thing I was going to mention is there's a difference between day and night. So in the day, my snakes, I mean, this is me, you know, generally training them. They will only they'll only appear once the light levels get low and they think, oh, it's food time, because in nature that's what they would do. They'd wait till either dawn or dusk, when the light levels are that bit lower, to hunt for their food, because that's when rodents and things like that will come out, and that's when they hunt. So I've also, because obviously these are captive bred snakes, I've trained them so that they associate like daylight and daytime with not very much going on. I can go in their tanks, get them out without them trying to strike me or think that I've got food, you know, that sort of thing. They'd only strike if they think that you've got food. And even if I don't have food and I go in their tanks, I go to get them out, they're all hyper thinking it is food time. So I just leave it that I feed them in the evening, as I say, when the light levels are low, and that's what they've got used to. That's when they eat. But they are very food aggressive when it comes to that time of night, every night. But in the daytime, they just associate me getting them out, either for my videos, which they hate probably, but they generally associate that with me changing their water bowls, which I've got to do after this. So yeah, so they have nice fresh water. So generally, as I say, their temperament is, you know, it's really good. And they are such a fantastic beginner snake. So yeah, I'm happy with all 5 of mine, and I would definitely recommend getting a snake from a baby. If you can't, and you know, you see a rescue, say from the RSPCA or somewhere like that, you know, they've got a corn snake that needs a forever home, then, you know, if you want to get it, obviously, you know, handle it beforehand and see what it's like. A lot more experienced keepers, they will deal with a very sort of snappy and aggressive snake, because they know that they can then train it to be a bit calmer and all the rest of it, because as I say, they need a lot of handling. But I would not recommend getting a rescue that's a bit aggressive as a beginner snake. I would, as I say, I'd just get a baby, and then you can mould it to be all lovely and docile and stuff. So, but yeah, generally they are docile, and this little girl's no exception. So yeah, so that's corn snakes for you. So next I will move on to king snakes, and I will have Estrella out with me. So I'll say goodbye to Athene. Crazy girl. Right, so now I have little Estrella with me, and as you all know, she's a Mexican black king snake, so obviously part of the king snake family. I don't have any experience with males, but obviously she's a female, so I'm just going to go off my experiences with her. So when I first got Estrella, she was quite bitey and quite, you know, sort of food aggressive, I'd say. She just thought everything was food when she was little. So yeah, so when I first got her, every time I went near the tank, she was up at the window just snapping away, biting, you know, at the window, and any time I was there, she thought it was food time. and that was day or night, because a lot of king snakes, well, in fact, I'll say most of them are quite sort of enthusiastic about their food, let's say. And she is no exception. She's never missed a meal, and I think king snakes are known for that. So but as I say, when she was little, she was quite snappy, thought everything was food. And then over like the past few years, I've managed to sort of train her that when light levels get low, when it gets to be dusk and evening time, you know, when it's night time, that sort of thing, that's food time. So that's why she now, as an adult, she's chilled out a bit more. That's the other thing I was going to say, is that when king snakes get older, they do chill out, and she is so chilled. I was told before I got a female Mexican black king snake that they were quite feisty and all the rest of it. They can be, but as I say, with regular handling and training them, you know, to know when dinner time is and all the rest of it, because that's the main thing that they're looking out for, you'll be fine with these. I would say possibly a good beginner snake, but yeah, again, it just, you have to be prepared that when they are babies, they think everything's food. But if you want a snake where you don't have to worry about them not eating, as it were, then I would definitely get a king snake, because you know they'll eat every time. So she is a really chilled out girl now. She was crazy when she was a baby. She was like a little angry stick of licorice. But she's really chilled out now. I know that with confidence I can just go in her tank like I just did and get her out from her hide. And you know, she obviously she doesn't want to come out into the, you know, daytime and stuff. She's just like, I just want to sleep in the day, because that's what they do, these snakes. They'll just, and the same with corns, they'll sort of have a little sleepy time in the day and whatnot. And as I say, once the light levels get low, they're all up and about. And it is actually feeding day for all of my snakes tomorrow, so I will be feeding them all. But yeah, king snakes are awesome. They're just so, obviously a lot of people, when I posted up pictures, they're like, okay, you've got corn snakes, but is that a black corn snake? I'm like, no, it is a Mexican black king snake. So but yeah, she's so beautiful as well, in, you know, in the sunlight. She's got like these iridescent scales and things. So but she's such a chilled out female, and I never thought that I would see that. I always thought she'd be quite snappy with where her food's concerned and things, but she's actually really quite chilled now. It's almost like she is similar, because she's so docile now. She's very similar to my corn snakes in that way. But I would say the sort of common thing with corns and with kings is that when they're babies, they are quite snappy. They're small and they feel they need to defend themselves a lot more, and that's just normal. But as they get older, they do chill out more. And yet again, the key thing is handling. So and I was going to say, with all snakes, when they go into blue, because I forgot to mention this with the corns, but when they all go into blue and they're due to shed their skin and one thing or another, they do just hide themselves away for, it could be a full week with some of my snakes, where I've not seen them for a full week. And then I've sort of gone in and seen, all right, they're in blue. And, you know, so they will go quiet in that time, and they might not appear so much. But yeah, I don't know what she's doing. She's wandering down my arm somewhere. But yeah, so that's king snakes for you. I'm just going to see if there's anything else that I've not mentioned. Yeah, no, that's it. I've covered everything that I want to cover, I think, with king snakes. So they're similar-ish to corns, but the big difference is that they are that tiny bit feistier, and they do absolutely love their food. People say, oh, their food aggressive, and don't be scared off by that word aggressive. It just means that they're really enthusiastic about their food, a bit like me. So yeah, so that's little Estrella for you. And I'll see if she'll face the camera. There we go. She's such a good girl though. Honestly, she's the best. I'd recommend getting a Mexican black king snake for sure. So as you can see, I have little Aristeus with me, who's a hognose snake. So I'm going to be talking about hoggies next. So with this little boy, he's very chilled, you know, very sort of relaxed. He eats his food really well, almost like a king snake. He's absolutely avid about his food. If he can smell food, that's it, he's on it. So he's really good where that's concerned. Now, if I compare that to Zephyrus, who's been struggling to eat over the past few weeks, who I've just managed to get eating again by putting him into like a separate bowl and things. In the winter, he did go off his food for a couple of weeks, but you know, he was soon back on it after that. And yeah, as you can see, he's just so still and so chilled out. And I would say he's been like that since he was a baby. He used to hiss more when he was a baby, and the same with like when I had Hermes, he was a bit, you know, actually he was quite a lot hissy. Zephyrus is, I've not had him from a baby because I've been told he's 3 years old this year, so I've got him as an adult, but he doesn't hiss hardly at all at me. He hardly hisses ever now. He did, like when I first got him, because he was getting used to me and his new surroundings and stuff, but he's calmed right off. And it's as I always say, you know, handling is the key thing here. If you get them out regularly and you get them used to you, you know, as I say, they get used to your smell and used to you handling them. And to be honest, like with all snakes, you know, they're all obviously exothermic, so my hands are always very warm, and so I think that's what this boy is enjoying, is the heat off my hand, and then I'm enjoying the fact that he's cool on my hands. So, you know, it's benefits two ways, as it were. So, but yeah, he's really chilled. Now, if I got Zephyrus out, he's a little bit more wanting to investigate everywhere, really hyper, and you know, just sort of everywhere, which is very different to this little boy. So I don't know whether it's an albino, non-albino thing. I don't know whether non-albino hoggies are more sort of like active and sort of running around everywhere, as it were, and albinos are just a bit more chilled out. I don't know, I'm not quite sure. I'd need a bit more experience with different hoggies, and also with a different sex of snake as well, because obviously I've had all male hognose snakes and I've never had a female, but I would love to get a female at some point. I've heard that they really like their food and they get to like twice the size of these guys. So, you know, maybe in the future I'll get a female one. But for now, I'm just happy with my boys that I've got. So yeah, that's hoggies for you. As I say, they're a bit feisty when they're little, like most snakes, but if you get them out and get them used to you and one thing and another, you know, they don't hiss at all. He hardly ever hisses at me now, very rarely. And Zephyrus is going that same way. He's getting used to me, so that's great, and I'm really, really pleased. So, oh, there's one thing I forgot to mention actually, is musking. Now, none of my corns have ever musked on me. It's just something, you know, they've never done it, you know, from babies to adults, never. When I first got Estrella, she did musk on me quite a lot. It's what they do when they're babies. So yeah, that's one thing that I forgot to mention, but I'm mentioning it now because it's an important thing to know. So with Estrella, she did musk on me when she was a baby, but now she's an adult and she's used to me. She doesn't do that anymore. It's just something they do more when they're smaller. And this guy has musked on me because, as some of you know, he has escaped a couple of times. And the second time when I found him, he just hated the fact that I found him, and he musked on me and it stunk. It wasn't poo, it was actually musk. So hoggies can actually do what king snakes do and musk as well. And they just do it to sort of, they do that musking so that it puts off predators, because it's supposed to give the sense to the predator that, you know, they smell awful, they're dead, you know, that's why they musk, just to give off that awful smell, to put off the predator. So so yeah, he did that with me once, but that's it, he's only ever done it once. Oh, there we go. So yeah, so he's doing pretty good, as I say, just looking about. And you know, he is quite a curious snake, and that's probably why he escaped twice. But yeah, he's such a good boy. But yeah, as I say, with the musking thing, it's just something they do when they're little, and when they're adults they hardly do it at all. Although Australia did musk on me last year when I got her out in the sunshine, and that she didn't like being put on the floor and then picked up again, so she was quite scared, so I didn't bother this year. But hopefully I'll manage to get my hoggies outside for a little photo shoot next year when it gets warm again, but I'll see. So yeah, that's, as I say, that's like the little personalities and the temperaments of these little snakes, and of all my snakes. They're just they're all doing really good at the moment, and I'm really pleased. So I'm hoping you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, then please like and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, please hit that bell notification and click all, so you get notifications of all my latest videos. And if you've got any comments or questions or anything like that, then just pop them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer. But for now, from myself and little Aristeas, it is goodbye, and we'll see you in my next video. Thanks very much for watching.